If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Now, I'm sure that you have heard about this idea of living in the now. Eckhart Tolle speaks about it a lot. Many other spiritual philosophers also speak about living in the now. But for most people, it doesn't really make sense in daily life. We think we're living in the now, but maybe we're not. A good indication of if you're living in the now or you're not living in the now is your sense of acceptance versus resistance to what's going on. So it might seem like you're living in the now, but if you've got resistance to what's going on, then you're not really in the now. You're really in another space energetically of wanting to make what is different. And this is what really causes all the suffering in our lives. It's not even about what happens in our daily lives, but it's about how we respond to it. It's how we show up to it. It's how present we are. It's how awake we are. It's how accepting we are. And yet, there's a whole new level. And this new level is truly falling in love with the now. So not just accepting the now. I hear many people, and I've done it myself, I'm just going to accept what is now. There's something even in my mentality when I say that, I'm going to just accept what's now, that really indicates that I'm not in the now. Because if I have to think I must accept what's now, there has to be a level of resistance. And so today's show, we're going to explore these concepts and what it really means to fall in love with the now. So not just accept the now, but truly fall in love with the now. Fall in love with what is. And yes, I know there's can be challenges, and there's a lot of challenges, on this planet right now because we are going through this huge transformation. And there has never been a better time to fall in love with the now, because this is really how we are transforming the world. This is really how we are evolving individually and collectively. This is how our planet and humanity is growing and awakening. As long as we're in resistance to what is, we really don't have any power to change it, even if we don't like it. The true secret is being in love with what is. And so today, my beautiful guest, Gina Lake, is going to join us in this conversation. And Gina I had back on the show in August, and we had one technical problem after another. It was a whole series of them, and she couldn't hear me, and I couldn't hear her, and we decided that we would do the show again, because what we're going to discuss today is so valuable and can absolutely, positively change your life for the better. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let me tell you a little bit about Gina. So Gina Lake is a non-dual spiritual teacher whose teachings are similar to Eckhart Tolle's. She has a master's degree in counseling psychology and over 20 years' experience supporting people in their spiritual growth through phone consultations. After having a spiritual awakening in 1999, she has been dedicated to helping people find true happiness and live in the moment. Gina is also a gifted channel and the author of 7 books: Loving in the Moment, Radical Happiness, Embracing the Now, Anatomy of Desire, Return to Essence, Living in the Now, and Getting Free. She and her husband, who is also a non-dual teacher, live in Sedona, Arizona, where they offer weekend intensives. And her website is www.radicalhappiness.com, and we'll give that information again at the end of the show. So Gina, thank you so much for having chai with me again today.
Oh, hi, Nanice. It's such a pleasure to be back again.
Oh,
and I think
great.
you bring up a very good point about acceptance. The word acceptance does imply a kind of a trying, like it implies a non-acceptance, doesn't it? When you say you have to accept
Yes.
the now, it's something that is absent. And so falling in love with the now is a place of just naturally loving life. And that comes from being in the now. But of course, acceptance is the way, it's kind of a route to getting into the now and experiencing being in love with it. So it's a little tricky because, there has to be some route from the egoic level of consciousness to that place of presence and the now and the true self. And that route is acceptance, and it's something we can sort of begin to choose, but it doesn't really happen that we fall into the now and really feel the experience of love that is presence, that is being in the now, until we make some choice. Sometimes we fall into it naturally. Everyone has moments when they fall into the now and they fall in love with whatever's going on, and it just happens to them, right? And and then there are other moments when we're struggling against being in the now and then struggling with our experience. And in those moments, there is that possibility of making a more conscious choice. And the choice that's possible in that moment is to become aware of what thoughts or negativity, doubts, arguments with reality, anger, or other negative perceptions, egoic perceptions you might be holding in that moment that are preventing you from saying yes to whatever's happening. And once you can become aware of what the resistance is, there can be a choice to simply, after you've noticed it, to really make a choice to ignore it. And I know my teaching is often, sometimes people say, well, you just tell people to ignore their thoughts. And yeah, when
yes.
when you can,
Yes.
sometimes you can't, and then you may have to do some inquiry work and some other kind of investigation into the egoic mind till you become free of it. But in many moments, it's possible to simply, number one, notice the negative thought, the argument with reality, or some kind of complaint, and then ignore it, because you recognize it, that it's coming from the mind. You recognize, oh, that's the ego. And so it's this awareness and noticing of thought, and then the recognition that, oh, it's just thought. It's just the ego, and I don't have to listen to it. It's not meaningful. Right. It's not true. It's not important, and it's spoiling my experience of life. And with that recognition, there's a natural then being able to be more present to what is real and true. But it can take a lot of practice of all of those steps till it becomes more automatic and the choice becomes automatic. But that's the process of waking up out of the egoic mind and beginning to live in the now, is this process of becoming more and more aware of thought, and also understanding and being really clear that your thoughts don't belong to you, they're programming that you don't need to live, that they are primarily negative and not helpful, and that if you truly want to be happy and not suffer, and more importantly, if you truly want to be a loving being and experience the love of your true nature and express that love in the world, you will ignore your thoughts. It's a very good choice to ignore your thoughts, because what you get in exchange for doing that is love, peace, contentment, and access to the natural wisdom that is part of being in the moment. Because there's something much more important than just your own happiness about being in the moment. And that is that when you are in the moment and very present to life as it's showing up, your own innate wisdom comes up and is experienced and lives you. And that's what we're all here to do, is to live from this place of wisdom, this place of essence, as I like to call it.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful, Gina. Wow. Yes. Yes. I think that most of us have been brought up to believe that we are our thoughts. So, like, we have a thought and we think, oh, that's us. And there's not a lot of consciousness about, wait a second, I don't own that thought. I don't want that thought. The way that I see it is even a little shift from ignoring rather than what thoughts do I choose. So it's like the thoughts all come by, and I can choose to focus on thoughts that make me feel bad, or I could choose to focus on thoughts that bring me closer to the divine, to love, to my friends, to life. And so it's just all these thoughts come by, and I'm like in the supermarket. Like you don't go in the supermarket and just buy everything. You go in, you see all these products, and you decide, okay, I'm gonna buy the organic apples, and I'm not gonna buy the chemical laden grapes. So it's a choice, and I think that this is where the consciousness comes in. So what thoughts support me, and that they don't run me. Yes.
Oh, it's such a huge step in consciousness to recognize that you have the choice about what thoughts you're going to give power to, and instead of just being automatically and unconsciously driven and responding to every thought that pops into your mind. Mm-hmm. This is the difference between the unconscious life, which most of us, at least early on or even throughout our lives, are just programmed to live, and what's going on right now in the culture. This waking up is a waking up out of this unconsciousness, out of this automatic responding to our thoughts and believing them, and having this ability to see what we're thinking and make a choice about which thoughts we're going to pay attention to and give our power to. But the really radical thing, Nanice, that I'm saying is that once you really begin to be aware of your thoughts, you come to see that there is hardly a thought in your mind that you need. And in fact, there is no thought that you need in your egoic mind. And I want to make a distinction between the egoic mind, which is the I, me mind, that voice in your head that Eckhart Tolle talks about, and the functional mind. Because, we all use the functional mind as a tool, and we need the functional mind. But we do not need that voice in our head that chatters at us all day long. If you really begin to look at that voice, you can hardly find, and I'm saying hardly just to be kind of soften it, but, my really radical perspective is when you look, you won't find a thought that you need, a thought that supports your ability to live a loving life, because you don't need those thoughts. To live from this place of wisdom, you don't need the egoic mind. You need the functional mind, but you don't need that voice in your head. The voice in the head creates the false self, the negative self, and it creates all the suffering in the world, as you said in your introduction.
So when you say the functional mind,
So this is pretty radical to say, really, when you examine the thoughts that go through your mind, which are primarily about yourself or about other people. I need this, I like this, I want this, I did this in the past, I'm going to do this in the future. He said this, she said this is what happened to me. All of those kinds of thoughts are actually dysfunctional. And the weird thing is that we are all programmed as human beings to not only believe our thoughts, but to be convinced that they are true, important, and meaningful. And they aren't. This is the big illusion. This is the big illusion that so many of us are seeing through. And once you begin to see it, you wonder why you didn't see it sooner even, because it's amazing when you really begin to look at the thoughts that go through your mind, how unuseful they are, how untrue most of them are, how contradictory, how petty, how cruel, how negative most of your thoughts are. At least mine are. Maybe I can't speak for the whole human race, but I have a feeling, having been a counselor for over 20 years, I have a pretty good idea what goes through people's minds.
Yeah, you've heard a lot of thoughts. Yes. Yes, I do agree. So when you say functional, like a functional thought would be, oh, it's 3:00 and I need to pick my son up from school. That would be a functional thought.
That would be a neutral thought.
Okay.
The truth is, Nanice, this is like so radical, but the truth is that you don't even need that thought to remember to pick your son up. It's not like it has to be verbalized in your mind. That isn't really that remembrance or that knowing to pick up your son it's like in your body. You already know it, and then it just gets put into a word in your head, into a sentence. And so, that even a thought like that, which is a neutral thought, there's nothing that is negative about that. But the truth is, you don't even need that when you're living from this place of presence, of your innate wisdom. You naturally recall or know, you naturally are moved to do what you need to do. But of course the thought might come up, oh yeah, I'm going to do that now. Or, but it isn't that you needed the thought first, but it kind of mirrors what this being that you are naturally knows to do. So even when you look at those thoughts, you see that you don't really need those. And
so you're saying
that's so shocking.
Yeah. So you're saying that the thought is a result of or manifestation of this intrinsic wisdom or this innate wisdom that's already inside of us.
Yeah. For instance, when, the conditioning, we all have conditioning that protects us, that keeps us safe, like look both ways to cross the street. But when you're an adult and you've had that conditioning, you can approach a street and you don't need to tell yourself, or you don't have to have the thought, I need to cross the street. I need to look both ways to cross the street. You don't need that thought. It's already in you. And so the conditioning that you need to keep you safe, or the wisdom that you need to run your life, it's actually already in there in a nonverbal place. And you have access to it when you are in the moment and very present. You have access to the storehouse of information and the deeper wisdom that's part of your true self. You have access to that. The only thing that keeps you from having access to that deeper wisdom is actually the thoughts that are in the egoic mind that can clutter your mind and take you out of the present moment. They can actually make you unsafe, can't they? Because, we've all had this experience where we're so caught up in our thoughts that we run a red light or something. And, so thinking is not necessarily the place of safety. Being present in the moment is a natural place of safety and wisdom. And you don't, because
thinking is in the limited body. Is that what you're saying? Like thinking is in the limited body, and that this innate wisdom, this is in the universal being, the universal mind. Is that kind of what you're saying? So thinking is limited to this mind that's in this body. So it's limited, and it can only get me so far. And the thinking, I can only think thoughts based on experiences I've had or beliefs that I have, or whatever else contributes to my line of thinking. And what I'm hearing you say is that when you let go of the thoughts, then suddenly you're not limited, and you're in this divine mind that has all the answers and knows divine timing and knows when I'm supposed to pick my son up at school, and that always knows what time it is, that always knows what my body needs, that always knows where to go, and when to look both ways, and everything that keeps me safe and healthy and feeling beautiful. Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I think the language that I generally use to make a distinction is that there is the mind, which has the programmed information, which we call conditioning. That's all of our training and everything we've learned. That mind, that programmed conditioning has its place, and it's useful, but ultimately there's a whole another level of being that is actually living our life, that is not that uses the mind but is not the mind, and that actually communicates to us through our intuition and through urges to act. So, that or inspiration and intuition, like you get the intuition, oh, I need to pick up my son at school. That it
Yes.
pops into your mind. It
Yes.
didn't really come from that programmed mind. It came from that deeper place, intuition, and maybe you put it into a thought or it turned into a thought, but it initially came from this deeper place that knows how to move in the world and what needs to be done next. This being that we all are, this spiritual being that we are, is actually all that's here. There's nothing else here. This I that we think of ourselves is just a programmed bunch of ideas about who we are, and we're used to listening to the mind for guidance about what to do next and how to run our lives and who we are. But there's a whole nother level of being that we can live from that's much more satisfying, much more loving place, much more accepting and happy place of being. And that level of being is accessed in the now, by being very present in the moment and not distracted by thought, not absorbed in thought. When you're lost in your thoughts about yourself, you are lost in a virtual reality, in the false reality, in the false self, in I have to do this and I can't do that, and oh, what if this happens, and oh, I better remember this, and all this absorption in the virtual life that's going on in your head keeps you from being more present in the moment and more in alignment with this being that is right here living this moment, that is actually here. This being doesn't speak to you through your mind. It speaks to you, the being that we are communicates with us through our intuition and through inspiration to move a certain way, through urges to act, through drives that we have, a drive to maybe study something or go somewhere or connect with someone. This is how life unfolds from these drives, these urges. And then many of us also create our lives by following our mind. So both of these things go on in everyone's life, in every moment. There is either a following of one's thoughts and doing what your thoughts tell you to do, or there is a following of what the being is moving you to do. So there's like this dance that's going on in everyone's life between the ego, which is saying, I have to do this, and I should do this, and you should do this, and you should go to school and be a doctor, because mother said to do that. That condition. There's all these shoulds about what you should do and how you should live your life. That's the ego's way of living. And then there's this being that moves you through your joy, through attraction, to go in certain directions. It gives you certain drives to unfold yourself in certain directions, to be attracted to studying certain things, to going certain places. So both of these things are going on at any one time, and the people who are more attuned to what the being is moving you to do are happier, and they're more loving, and they're more at peace. And those who are tremendously caught up in what the ego is telling them to do are contracted and unhappy, and maybe living a life that really doesn't fit them. That's someone else's life. Yeah.
Right.
And that's a source of unhappiness.
Yes. Yes. So this is an interesting piece of the conversation right here. Right before the show, my son Travis, he came home from school early today, and he just started high school. He's really unhappy. He went into his guidance counselor and said, that I'm unhappy in school. I'm not taking anything that I like to take. He doesn't care for the subjects that he has to take. He just wants to study music. He wants to learn all these instruments. He has a gift in music. And so it's an interesting situation, because from a traditional standpoint, you have to go to school, you have to get that high school diploma, you have to, do this, you have to do that. And that's not how I feel. I feel that he should be able to do exactly what he wants to do, and that he can choose that. And why should he have to be or do things that make him unhappy? Instead, follow that natural instinct and study music and do all these things that he wants to do and to learn about. That this seems to be, in his highest good, of course. It's what's driving him, which is what I love about, one of the many things I love about what you're saying, Gina. So the reason that I brought this up now is because there's probably a lot of people out there, thinking like, I have all these shoulds. What do I do with these shoulds? And do I just, do I follow that innate drive? And, that can mean a lot of things. To Travis, that might mean that he doesn't get a high school diploma. And, if he's fine with that, I'm fine with that. But there's a lot of people out there that they don't like the consequence. And so I'm curious what you have to share about that.
Yeah, well, and it isn't necessarily an either or in your son's case. Perhaps it's possible for him to find a way to really do his music within the context of high school and still get a degree. But to really honor that, there might be a way to do that more. Or if he is allowed to do his music, maybe he'll have enough motivation to do the other stuff too, because sometimes what happens is that when we're doing enough of what we love, we can manage to maybe do a job that we don't like to do so much. That's how some people work out following their heart when it's difficult to support themselves by following their heart. Sometimes just if they follow their heart enough in their free time and in other ways, and that then it isn't so difficult to do the other things that are just required responsibilities. It's when we give up following our heart and just make ourselves do all these things we don't like, and we're not feeding our soul in any area of our life at any moment, that we get very miserable and we can create lives that don't fit for us. But if we can find a way to, do what brings us joy, and also take care of maybe what else needs to be taken care of, it isn't necessarily an either or. And sometimes thinking that way keeps people from following their heart, because they think, well, if I follow my heart, I won't be able to support myself. But if that's your heart's desire, there's always a way that life can show you a way to organize your situation to support that. Life will support that in some way. Every situation's different, of course, and I don't know what's right for your son, and I think it's wonderful that you understand that people have unique talents, and those talents need to be nurtured and nourished. There's nothing more important to that than that, and so he's really lucky that he has a mom like you who sees that. And unfortunately, school systems and corporations, corporate societies, and the whole business and world of work our culture doesn't necessarily support following our heart. It often puts us in boxes and move because this is an ego-driven culture. It puts money and the ego's values ahead of other things, ahead of spiritual values, ahead of creativity, ahead of the values that the soul loves. And that's why so many people are so unhappy in this culture, because it's hard to be in essence and to be aligned with essence and to be at peace in a culture that's not at peace, in a culture that's ego-driven and not in essence. So it's a stressful culture, and it is not conducive to being in peace. It is not conducive to being in this place of loving or being in the place of the present moment. So people are struggling against this fact all the time. And that's why going on retreat or finding a way within your stressful lifestyle or difficult lifestyle to take time out to nourish your soul, your heart's desires is so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree, Gina. We're living in an artificial society that we have put the material before the being, and this is causing a lot of unhappiness. Yeah, and I think that, without realizing it, that we are so affected by these programs. We don't realize just how controlled we are by the way we think things have to be. And I wonder if we are not in this time where we just really need to take that leap of faith and just follow that innate wisdom. And that means, and for some people, completely changing their lives and taking a huge risk, taking a huge chance. But the contrary to that is this sense of deadness in life where you're just going through the motions. And
right.
Me personally, yeah, I don't think it's enough, and this is just my opinion. I don't think it's enough to just do what I love on the side. I believe that our lives are this beautiful piece of art, and to be molded by that innate wisdom, and that means truly having the courage to step out and stand out and say, I'm going to do it my way. And yeah, that could be hard, but I think that's why we're here. I mean, collectively, I think that we've all come here for this reason, and that we are the best of the best in the universe. And what that means is that we are the ones who are most likely to have the courage to do that. And that might mean, for Travis, that he decides, what? I'm done with high school and I'm going to pursue my music, full time. And for someone else, that might mean, I'm tired of working at the factory and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to, connect with the divine and be shown how to, do my art, or how to, do this other thing that I love. That's my gift. I believe.
Yeah. I'm all for that too. I am. I didn't mean to give the impression that I wasn't all for that, because I'm totally for that, because I found in my own life and in counseling so many people that when you do follow that inner wisdom and you trust that life supports that. Life supports that. And it supports it in ways that you never imagined, that you couldn't ever have imagined.
Yes.
So we can never go wrong in following our heart. It works. It works. This is a true guidance system to go in the direction of your joy, of your heart's desire, and to go away from whatever is causing you contraction and unhappiness and depression. Depression is often a sign that you're not in alignment with the life you are meant to live, that you're not in alignment with Essence's intentions for you, and that you need to follow your bliss and find out how to do that. Sometimes it's very difficult because someone who's followed their ego might have created a lot of structures that actually don't fit for them. They might have a family, a job, a relationship that really isn't true for them. and it can be very hard and very painful to get out of that. And so, this is the difficulty that some people do find themselves
Yes.
in. Life often has a way, though, of even breaking up those structures and moving them out of that, even so. So there are blessings in that.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree about what you're saying about depression, that it truly is a result of not being who you really are. I actually wrote an article, it's on my website, and it's called The Upside of Depression, and it speaks about this and how to, really have the courage to be the real you, and how that, shifts the depression. It's like if we're not following our hearts, we're repressing ourselves, we're depressing ourselves. So of course it's going to show up as depression. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the innate guidance system that we've been given, and
yes.
It's proof that there is a loving, benign intelligence behind all of life, because when you follow your joy, it takes you to where you want to go. And when you don't follow your joy, it takes you into suffering. So
yes.
This is a good sign. This is a sign that there's a loving hand behind it all, right? It
yes.
could be the opposite.
It could be. Yeah, it's a self-adjusting universe. That it's like during the summer I was jogging, and there was a little bird in the middle of the street. And at first I thought it was an acorn. It was so small, and I stopped, and it was still alive. And I tried to help it get on the sidewalk, but instead, it started running out into the street. Well, I realized I needed to get it on the other side of the street, so I started shooing it, and it would run over to the left, and then I would shoo it from the right, and then it would run over to the other side, and it was like I was kind of shooing it, so one way then the other, so that I'm aiming it towards the sidewalk so that it would be safe. And I see that this is what the universe does, that it sways us one way, so it doesn't feel good to go that way, so it's pushing us this way, and then no, going too far that way. No, okay, then it sways us the other way, pushing us another direction till we get in alignment. And the beautiful thing about this story is that here I think this bird is dying, and I'm just trying to get it onto the sidewalk so it could at least won't get hit and can die naturally. And when I almost got it to the sidewalk, all of a sudden it took off and flew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the point. I think that the divine is, swaying us, shooing us one way, then the other, until we find ourselves, until we get in alignment, and that's when we take off and we fly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful metaphor, really. And there's another great metaphor are these guidance systems inside your car that tell you turn right, to get to where you're going, and go, 2.5 miles, and then turn left. and if you don't follow the voice, what happens is that it will say, make an immediate U-turn, and it'll keep telling you to make an immediate U-turn. It will try to tell you to go back, and if you don't go back, it modifies the whole design, the whole plan, and goes with where you're going and picks it up where you decided to go, and then it kind of goes with you. And so life is like that too. It sort of works with our choices. It works with our choices. There's this dance between the choices we make and where it's steering us. And it uses where we're going to move us where it wants to go, and it has to work with the choices we've already made. It can't start somewhere else. Yeah, so it's kind of funny that way. There is, it does have to play it by ear and work with what we give it. So there is a aspect of free will that is co-creating with this design, with this divine will. There's our own individual will, and the more we can align with that divine will, the easier things go, and the more it can bring us the opportunities and the grace that it that is part of its plan. And it brings us challenges too. That's part of the plan. It's sometimes people think when we're aligned with essence, when we're aligned with the divine, then there should be no problems, right? No challenges. That's, when we're aligned with our plan, sometimes there are challenges too there, because that's part of life. But we're also going to be aligned with the resources that the divine brings to those challenges and the wisdom that it brings to those challenges. So it's not that life goes perfectly and we never get sick and, everything is so fine when we're aligned with our plan. We still have challenges, but we embrace those challenges. We find the resources for dealing with them, and we can access the wisdom for dealing with them and come out on the other end of it stronger.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. So I want to share with you, Gina, that a few weeks ago I was away and I came back, and the day that I came back, everything was in turmoil. Just one of those days that everything just was in complete turmoil in more than one area of my life. And I was in complete resistance. I was miserable. I was in complete resistance every day. I was dreading, and I definitely was not in the now. I was everywhere else, but and then I realized that the things that I was resisting, they truly were exactly what I had chosen. That when I let go of the resistance and I really looked at the things that I was being asked to do and these challenges that I was asked to overcome, that they were exactly what I asked for. And it made me start thinking about, other times in my life that I was in resistance. And I was able to very clearly see that no matter what's happened in my life, it truly was what I asked for. Now, I might not have asked for that direct thing to happen, but I asked for, a gift or an experience. An example of this, when I was 17, I wished upon a star, and I didn't even know what to wish for. I was really in a very challenging time in my life, and I wished for something that I needed that I didn't know I needed. Don't do that unless you're prepared, right? Because a few weeks later, at 17, I ended up pregnant. Yes. And that's not what I planned. That's not what I consciously wanted. It was the absolute end of the spectrum. And yet, truly, it was exactly not just what I needed, but what I wanted. But I didn't have the consciousness at that time to know that's what I wanted. And so from this perspective, that there's never a moment in our life that we don't have exactly what we need and exactly what we want, even if it looks completely contrary to our thoughts and beliefs about what should be happening. And this is the divine. This is the divine giving us always exactly what we need and what we want.
Yeah, well, we create on the level of the ego, and the divine is also creating our life. So the divine allows us to create on the level of the ego. It allows us to desire certain things and follow those desires. Or maybe it won't, but sometimes it just allows us to get the desires that our ego wants, because there's value in having the experience of getting what the ego wants. It's part of life. We learn from it, and we learn about what's a good desire and what's a not such a great desire. We learn from our choices that we make on an egoic level, so those are fine. And then the other thing that's created is created from our soul or essence. The other things we experience are created by essence, by our soul. And those then are also the experience we need in order to evolve or grow or learn or have some kind of experience that we need. So whether we're creating it on an egoic level or on a deeper level, anything that is in our life that's been created is useful to us. It's something that our soul has said yes to. And So obviously it must be useful to the soul.
Yes.
And a good thing. And we can use it for good, whatever challenge it is. We can use it for good, and we can come out better, stronger, wiser person as a result, or not. And that's our choice. We may not have a choice about whether to have a certain challenge, but we definitely have a choice within that challenge about whether we grow from it, or whether we take a low road and we react badly and blame others or are angry and don't grow from it or whatever. We do have that choice about how we respond to it, and that's a great power. But eventually, because of the suffering of a negative response, we all eventually learn to respond more positively to our challenges and to become wiser and to surrender to the growth. And, life eventually has its way with us.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it.
Because I certainly don't know better than life, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we think we know what we want, but yeah, we really don't know what is best for our soul's growth.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Gina, we only have a few minutes left, and I want you to be able to share your contact information and any other events or anything you'd like to offer our audience would be awesome.
Okay, thank you. Well, on my website, radicalhappiness.com, I've written several books, and there are book excerpts, and there's some free ebooks there available also. There are videos and audios to listen to. There's a blog, a newsletter to sign up for, and there's information about my consultations. I do both channeled and astrological consultations, all for the purpose of supporting awakening and living in the now. And so you can find out about that there too. radicalhappiness.com.
And it's a great site. I totally recommend everyone going there. It's awesome.
Oh, lots. There's just so much to read, and for free.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Gina. This was really awesome. And I would love to have you back on the show again because there's so many things that we can talk about.
Yes, I'd be happy to be back, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Gina. And you have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, we do have the power to choose the now. That this is our choice, that the now is always available to us. And if we are in resistance, we're in suffering. And when we drop in through this pathway of acceptance into loving the now, this is when our lives change. This is when we change. That the quality of our life is not about what's happening out in our world. It's about what's happening inside, how we respond to what's happening, who we choose to show up as in a very intrinsic and very deep sense. And not necessarily the personality or the identity, but truly the beingness of who we are. And this is where we're all moving into, that we're moving away from the sense of separation into this sense of oneness, into this sense of harmony. This is where our planet is moving. But it doesn't happen out there. It happens in each and every one of us. So as we get in harmony with ourselves and others get in harmony with themselves, we come together as a global community, as a global consciousness, and we are in harmony. And truly, this is where we create the most beautiful, magnificent consciousness on the planet that anyone could ever dream. And this is what we're here to do. We're here to dream this new dream. We're here to live fully in the moment. Only in the moment can transformation happen. Not when you're living in the past or the future. There's no control over the past or the future. Right now, there is control. And that control may not be technically what happens in your life. That control lies in yourself. And that control is to believe everything you're thinking or not believe anything you're thinking. That control is remembering who you really are as a divine being, and remembering that you're not this false sense of self, that you're not this identity, that you're not anything less than a divine soul living in a most magnificent body and truly our bodies are gifts. And I think that this is also another piece of really falling in love with, and now falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your body, falling in love with this vessel that carries you through life. Because it is a gift. It is a gift. We have forgotten it. And we are now awakening to the fact that we are blessed. We are blessed every moment of every day. We are blessed to have a body. We are blessed to be here. We are blessed to have all our senses and to experience life. We are blessed even when we have limitations, because in those limitations, we are blessed. And when we live life from this sense that we truly are blessed, then it's easy to fall in love with ourselves. It's easy to fall in love with life. It's easy to fall in love with the now, simply by remembering that you are blessed and that you are loved, and not just sometimes, but every moment of every day for your entire life. Please visit me on my website at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com for tons of free articles, free book download, free songs, a whole slew of anything that you could possibly imagine for free. And while you're there, email me. You'll see a little contact box. Email me. Let me know, who you are. Let me know, the shifts that have come in your life as a result of listening to this show and other shows. Let me know what you'd like to see or hear on the show. And if you'd like to copy of that article on the upside of depression, email me too, and I'd be happy to send you the link for that. And while you're there, remember to take the pledge. It will help you change your life and to change the world. So until next week, you've been listening to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Have a beautiful week, and I love you.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Thank you.